scared. Some say the dog was huge, massive, like a lion, and it looked like it's alive. So they wouldn't try to enter the cave and turn away from there. Now Allah put them to sleep in such a place where the sunlight would not directly flash on them, and wind would come, fresh air would come from one side and go the other side. So in morning and evening they were protected from the sunlight, and fresh air would go in the cave, and Allah kept their bodies alive, and they were sleeping. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not let the earth consume their body, and they were kept alive without food and drink and without basic necessities. Now over here what happened is that the king, the Qiyanus Zalim, he sent war on them and summoned them, but he was told that they are no longer here, they've left. So he went out to look for them, and he sent armies and soldiers to search for them, and they searched and searched and they couldn't find any solution. So what happened is he wrote their names on a tablet and he put them in his treasure, and he said these youngsters disappeared into thin air and Allah knows what happened to them. Then time passed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said وَلَبِثُوا فِي كَهْفِهِمْ 300 سِنِينَ وَازْدَادُوا تِسْعًا. They stayed in their cave 300 years plus 9. Allah, you didn't say 309, because 300 according to the Shamsi and solar calendar, and 9 more years according to the lunar calendar. So they slept in there for that long amount of time. Now what happened was that after that time passed, the conditions of the city had changed, and the people had now embraced Islam, and they were muwahhideen, and they had given up idol worship. And the king was also a nice person, obedient and worshipper of Allah. But there was some discussion among the people that whether life after death is physical or is it spiritual. Some people used to say it's spiritual, that there is nothing that we have to get out of our grave. A nightmare for the bad people. Otherwise, we're not going to get out of our graves. So many people used to say that. There was dispute. Now the king was disturbed by this dispute. He wanted to settle the dispute, and he was making dua, oh Allah, help us settle this dispute, help us, give us some guidance. And Allah accepted his guidance. That in a way that Allah awoke the Ashab Kahf. Now when they woke up, they started discussing among themselves, how long have we been sleeping? Kam labistum? قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم قالوا ربكم أعلم بما لبثتم فبعثوا أحدكم بورقكم هذه إلى المدينة فلينظر أيها أزكى طعاما فليأتكم برزق منه وليتلطف ولا يشعرن بكم أحدا. Some said we slept for a whole day. The others said no, we only slept a little bit. Then they said Allah knows best how much we slept, but what we need to do is get some food, we are hungry. Take some money, go down to the city and get some pure halal tayyib zaki food for us. So one of them volunteered, and he's changed his appearance, and he came down the mountain. He went to the city close by, and he noticed that there is a lot of difference in the cities. He didn't understand. He went to the baker and ordered some bread, and when he wanted to pay for it, he gave him that money and he said, this is the payment. And the baker said, where do you get this money from? This is the Qiyanusi money, a very ancient money. He said, no, this is the currency we use over here. He said, no, this is not the currency. And then the baker said that it looks like you stolen some treasure from somewhere and you brought this gold coin from there. I said, no, I didn't steal anything. This is the place. People gathered around him. And then he asked them, is this not the so-and-so city? And is the Qiyanus not the king? And they said, the Qiyanus died 300 years ago. What are you talking about? Now he couldn't understand. and people took him to the king of the time. And he noticed that he is a good person, a pious person. So he spoke to him and he said, the Qiyamuz has died 300 years ago, the city has changed, we are Muslims now. So then he said, now I understand why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has woken you up. It is to prove that if Allah can put someone to sleep for 300 years, protect them, and then wake them up, then Allah can bring the deceased back to life and pull them out of the graves as well. So the masla is settled now, and the dispute is settled from now on. Then the king said, we will take lots of good food and fruits and everything for your friends, and we want to meet them. So they went, and they came near the bottom of the mountain, and their friend said that you wait here, because if my friends hear a lot of noise whilst we are climbing, they will get scared. So I will call them down, we will meet, and then take it from there. So he went up, and then there are two riwayats. One riwayat is that he called them down, they met with the king, and they thanked him for the food and everything, and then they went back up the cave, and then they again went to sleep and disappeared. So they started discussing, what shall we do now? And they said, let's build a masjid over here as a reminder for these godly, holy young people. قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا. So Quran then discusses how many people were there, how many youngsters, 3, 5, 7, and then Quran indicates that there were 7 youngsters. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the story in Surah Kahf, one, to teach us that life after death is physical, true, and number 2, to teach us that you have to make sacrifices for the sake of your deen, and number 3, when you do make sacrifices, Allah rewards you, Allah is extremely happy, and Allah is extremely pleased with you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned these youngsters in Quran Sharif. Now, another reason why this surah was revealed was that our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was Allah's Rasul, and people used to ask him tricky questions. So once the Quraysh sent some envoys to Ahle Kitab of Medina, Yathrib, that give us some tricky questions which we can ask Muhammad. And they said 3 questions. Number 1, what was the story of some youngsters who disappeared from their hometown, and they slept for many, many years? And number 2, what is the story of the king who ruled over the whole world, Zulqarnain? And number 3 question, what is the reality of ruh, the soul, which is breathed into the body in the mother's womb, and the baby comes alive, but that thing is taken out at the time of the death, and the body falls like a piece of wood. So what is that thing which went inside the body and which was extracted from the body? What is the reality of the ruh? So 2 questions did have answer. The 3rd question did not have answer. So they tried to check Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam by asking him these 3 tricky questions. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, I will give you the answer tomorrow. He forgot to say inshallah. And Jibreel alayhi salam did not come with wahi for a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 15 days passed. And the mushrikeen of Makkah, Quraysh, they started mocking Nabi Kareem sallallahu, making fun of him. But then Jibreel alayhi salam came with wahi, and he gave the answers. And also Allah said, وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ إِذَا نَسِيتَ وَقُلْ عَسَىٰ أَن يَهْدِيَنِي رَبِّي لِأَقْرَبَ مِنْ هَذَا رَشَدًا. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam read the surah to them, and the description of both stories was so accurate that the Ahle Kitab, who had distorted the story in their books, began to get the pen and paper and correct it in their books, like they did with other stories as well. So this is the story of Ashab Kahf in a nutshell. And Ashab Kahf were young men in their 18s and 20s. This means that youngsters need to show some josh and zeal and effort. It is upon that Allah's help comes. And they stood up against the kufr and the shirk and the zulm and the tyranny and oppression which the Qiyanus was inflicting upon the community. So this is the story of Ashab Kahf. We're going to go to that place. Inshallah, it's a little bit of climb. We will go up the mountain, inshallah, and we will visit the cave and we will visit the graves of the seven sleepers, inshallah. We have seen some photos and videos which were sent out, but inshallah, we will see it live when we get there, inshallah.